Hi guys, and welcome back to the Clean Scalpel. Today we're going to be doing a special in-between episode because of the medical students that I've been working with recently at both the University of Central Florida and the University of South Florida. We've had an opportunity to be one of the first programs to do a virtual acting internship, and I'm really excited. The things we worked on this week were knot tying, but specifically I wanted us to get to two-handed knot tying. So let's get started. We're not going to lead a lot of stuff today. Notice I just have some shoestring, and you just need some kind of heavy clamp. Okay, why? We just need that to tie that around. So we're going to go through this step by step, and we're going to assume that most people are right hand dominant, which is probably true of 80-90% of people, and we're going to practice tying the two-handed knot, but doing all the movement with our left hand. Then specifically, we're going to go into the theory behind it, and more importantly, how to make sure that your first knot is square. Okay, so let's get started. Now, a couple things about the shoelace, guys. I'm doing it just a little bit different for us here because of the length of the shoelace. It's fairly long. We'll make it work. We're going to just tie that a little bit short and put some weight on it, okay? So here we got our tie. So let's get started with the steps. Step one is you're going to gently hold both sutures. The first real step of the process is you're now going to make, some people call them the shooters, some people call them the stick 'em up position. Either or works. So you're holding the suture gently with these three fingers. The suture over here is draped over your index finger. Can everyone see that? Great. Step two is that with your non-dominant hand, you're going to come on the opposite side, okay? So that's step two. So we're going to just do this step by step, okay? So step one, grab the suture. Step two, make the cross. Now, step three, we're just going to connect the thumb and index finger, okay? That's it. Let's start from the beginning. Step one, step two, step three. Step four is we're just going to push the thumb through the loop. Okay, so let's start that from the beginning. Step one, step two, step three, step four. Okay, there you go. Step five is easy. You're just taking your non-dominant hand, you're handing yourself that suture. Okay. Step one, two, three, four, handing yourself the suture, 5, and 6, you have your knot. Okay? So that's pretty simple. Now, what is the variant of it? Well, if that's the shooter, okay, the other version is the opposite. You're just making a loser sign. Okay, so you notice how the suture is draped underneath my thumb this time. Still holding it the exact same way. So that's step one. Step two, very similar. You notice you're going on the opposite side. Step three, and the rest of it becomes essentially what we did, guys. Step three. Now this time, instead of your thumb, you're going to push with your index finger. Step four. You're going to hand it to yourself. 5. And back through. And there you go, you have your knot. Okay? So, as you start practicing these, you're going to be alternating from this to this, the loser. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and there you see our knots. Now, I want to make sure that you guys practice this from a step-by-step perspective, because the next part that we learn is something you're probably going to do for the rest of your career. And what do I mean by that? Which is making sure that the knots lay absolutely flat. Okay? So what we're going to assume is that this is the entire loop, and this one's the one on the left, this one's the one on the right. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to take the left side, which is the one side we've been tying, and just I'll put a little knot in it. Okay? So there you go. You have an ability to differentiate now the left from the right. So conceptually, what is a square knot? A square knot is very simple, okay? All you have to do is get this one to end over here and this one to end over here. Now, all of this is clearly done without crossing your hand, so let's make that work. So, in this position, if I throw the shooter, okay, now you notice as I'm pulling down, this knot is still on this side. So the question is, what do I need to do to get the knot over here? Well, I have two options here. I can rotate it clockwise, or I can rotate it counterclockwise. So what is the quote-unquote correct way? And the answer is, if you look at the knot, okay? As you look at the knot, does it become square when you do it this way or when you do it this way? And the answer for this is when you go counterclockwise. So you're going to have to turn your body a little bit and get that to lay square. And can everyone see that? That's a square knot. I've also had students ask me, well, Dr. Shukla, what is a square knot? Well, what does it look like? And essentially, we've all eaten pretzels before. And this is a square knot. It's a pretzel knot. You can see that these are crossing, and it looks like the pretzel you'd get at a ball game, okay? So in this position, you notice that I had to cross counterclockwise. My hands are crossed. The next time you take the bite, which is going to be now in your loser position, the hands are crossed again, and now there's another square knot. So it is extremely, extremely important to remember which way to turn your hands. So let me give you the 4 different ways to do this, okay? And the reason I'm showing you this is many people have never thought about this. So again, we started off with the shooter. Instead of starting off with the shooter this time, we're going to start with the loser, okay? The knot we've already worked up on. Now, do you also turn this counterclockwise? The answer is no. You actually turn this clockwise. And you notice how the knot's coming down square. Similarly, as you go to the next one, I'm going to do a shooter, and the knot is going to come back around this way. So there you go. 2 square knots. So those are the first 2 variations. Now, there's another 2 ways to do it, okay? And this is where, it gets a lot of fun, and I think you'll appreciate this a lot more. So let's say when you're starting to tie, you decide, I'm going to start with my hands crossed. And when I cross them, what I mean by that is this knotted side is coming over this side, and it's going to go into my right hand. And this one is now going to go into my left hand. Okay, so you're pre-crossing. So which one do you have to throw? Do you throw the shooter or do you throw the loser? The answer in this is you throw the loser. Same thing. And already it starts off with a square knot. Well, you know the next thing, you got to throw a shooter. So the question is, which way do you rotate it now? Do you rotate it counterclockwise or do you rotate it clockwise for your next bite? And you guys can see from here you have to rotate it counterclockwise to get that knot to stay square. Okay? And the final version of this is where instead of crossing above, you're going to cross this below. In which situation, you're going to start with the shooter. Okay, and you notice that the knot comes down square. You know how this is going to happen. You're going to have to throw the loser for the next one. Now, which way are you going to turn it? Counterclockwise or clockwise? And the answer is clockwise. You can see that is a square knot. So, guys, I've given you 4 different ways to start a two-handed knot, ensuring that in fact they are square. Here's the problem. I don't want you to necessarily learn all the techniques. I want you to work on exactly one technique. Why is that important? Because when you get to the operating room, it's much easier to see all this stuff with a shoelace, but with a 3/0, 4/0, or even smaller suture, it's almost impossible to tell if you're actually throwing it square unless you've practiced this. So what I would tell you is pick one way and do that for the rest of your career. So personally, what I will do is I will start with the following. I will always start with left going over right, and then I will always start with the loser. Okay? Square. And remember, how do we turn it? Is it this way or this way? It's going to be counterclockwise. Okay? Now, the goal of this should be that every time you throw the knot, the next knot should be alternating. And if you're looking for time, a good number to shoot for, especially at the end of, I would say, intern year, is probably 20 square knots two-handed in 1 minute. So for the students that are learning it, I would say if you can get 10 to 15, that's pretty damn good. I think I would push you to work a little bit more on the timing of it, and we can go over that at a later time. Okay. So again, thank you guys. Again, I really, really appreciate the students for their interest. Thank you for all the emails and the interest. And as problems arise, we will solve them together, and we will post them here. Okay, guys. See you soon.